Have y'all seen the rising cost of daycare? You know, to take care of your kid while you go work, these your one job, your second job, your third job, however many jobs you've got to work. Have you seen the rising cost of that? Here in my area, someone posted on Facebook, I know them personally, that they had to pay $1,000 deposit just for a chance to get into this daycare, right? Well, the kid was accepted. $536 a week. A week is what they're requesting for that child to be in daycare. That's over $2,000 a month. And I've told you, in my area, the bring home pay, the average bring home pay, after taxes, insurance, all your junk comes out of your check and you're left with what's left over to pay your bills, is around $9 to $12 an hour. Average. Average. I know if you're living in a bigger city, that doesn't seem like much, $536 a week, right? But you got to understand, y'all are making more money, you know, in the bigger cities. This is becoming to the point of where people can't afford to pay for daycare, right? They can't afford, so what are they going to do with their kids, you know, especially during summertime, right? What are they going to do with their kids? Because the kid's not at school or something like that, right? They're not in kindergarten or something. Guys, it's getting to the point of where all this greed has got to stop. You know, we all like to sit back and think it's supply and demand. It's supply and demand. The simple fact is, all these high prices we are paying is all out greed. It goes all the way from the top to the bottom. I mean, it's just the way it is, right? $536 a week for daycare. And can you imagine that place? Let's say they have 10 kids, how much they're making a month off that? It's getting to the point where, you know, grandma can't watch the kid because grandma's having to work, right? She's got to work to help pay bills too, because nobody can afford anything right now. It's got to the point of where we are getting just ridiculously over bombarded with what things are costing. We see it at the grocery store. People are having to pick and choose what they buy at the grocery store now. People are having to pick and choose between buying groceries or going to the dang doctor or getting their medicine filled, or which bill they're going to pay that month. And then you have to add in an extra cost. You know, mom can't stay at home. Dad has a job. Mom can't stay at home. Why? Because it takes both of them working to get through now, to get their bills paid. And then when you go to this daycare, you're another $500 a week. See, we all know our car insurance is going up too, which doesn't make no sense, but it's going up, right? Guys, we're at a point right now where we have to, somebody has to say, wait a minute now, let's slow down here. This is getting too expensive to do this stuff. But until people are willing to not pay this, it's going to keep going up. And I understand we're in positions now where we can't say we're not going to pay this, right? But it's gotten so expensive for daycare. You know, thankfully, I don't have little kids anymore. I do have grandkids that are little. But, you know, guys, if you're having to put your kids in daycare, what's the prices in your area of daycare, or a babysitter, a simple babysitter? And now with the way the world is, can you really, babysitters, I mean, think about that. You know what I'm talking about. We're not going to go into that. I mean, it's hard to trust people nowadays, right? Especially with your little kids. So it's getting to the point of where it's going to get worse and worse and worse. There's no way around it. Absolutely no way around it. Because, like I said, mom has to work, dad has to work just to get by. Just to get by. Both parents are having to work, and some of them are having to work 2 and 3 jobs just to get by. Scraping by with the bare minimum. The very bare minimum. Their bills are paid, they've got some food in their stomach, but they're not out here taking vacations. You know, they're not out here going on shopping trips. They're not wasting money. And some of them are still struggling with both of them working and still can't afford to pay everything. Especially here in my area. I don't know how it is in your area. I do understand that in larger cities, the jobs pay more and things like that. But here in my area, in North Alabama, you know, you'll see things with jobs that pay $30 an hour, right? You'll see it. Most of them is the big auto manufacturing plants and things like that. But that new $30 an hour, that's like making $10 an hour before the pandemic. And we all know that because everything has gone up so high. Guys, I feel sorry for parents with young kids that's having to put their kids in the daycare. I mean, $500 and something a week. That is to the point of extortion. That is you're goodness, right? And I understand these places got to have insurance on their places, and they have to do all the certifications, background. I understand that. But at some point here, you're just all out greed trying to get what you can get. Just like the property values. The property's the same as it was 10 years ago, but yet somehow it's worth 10 times what it was 10 years ago, right? Greed. People, supply and demand, they're not making no more property. No, it's greed. It's what is people willing to pay before they quit paying. That's what it is. They're going to raise it up just as high as they can raise it, and then they realize, all right, people's not going to pay this. And then they'll drop it down a little bit, right? And be like, well, people will complain, but they'll pay it. Same way with gas. We've seen this before. They'll bring it up so high, people will complain. They'll be like, all right, they're starting to quit buying it. Let's drop it a little bit. And then they drop it $1 and everybody's happy, right? You know what I'm talking about. It's getting to that point with everything nowadays. But daycare should not be that expensive. It should not be that expensive. You may think I'm wrong on this. How can parents afford that? Or a single mother or a single father? Let's look at it that way. A single mother and a single father that don't have the places to put the child while they're at work, so they have to put them in daycare, right? Let's say you go to work, you bring home $1,000 a week, right? You're like, that's pretty good money. Well, I'm having to pay $530 for daycare a week. Well, okay, you're still bringing home $500. Well, I'm having to pay rent. Rent's $800 to $1,000 a month. Then you add your bills. You're broke. You're in the hole, right? Well, I need to take a second job to help pay these bills. Well, wait a minute. I got to find somebody to watch the kid while I'm working the second job. See, the money keeps going up and up and up. Man, it's got to the point of where you can't afford to get by hardly anymore. You may get by, but you're skipping a couple bills, or you're cutting back on your groceries, or you're cutting back on something just to get by each month. And living in America, and you have a full-time job, that should not be happening at all. It should not be happening. If you're working 40 hours a week, you should be able to live comfortably. And I'm not talking about minimum wage jobs. I'm talking about you should have a job where you work 40 hours a week, you live comfortably. You can't live that way on a minimum wage job. I know that. But if you're making $15, $20, $30 an hour, you should be living comfortably, but the cost of every dang thing has gone up so much, you're living just like you're working a minimum wage job, and that is the problem here in America. This shit needs to be fixed. It's getting to the point of where people cannot make it. They cannot. People out here were having to work hours and hours, 60, 80 hours a week just to get by. That's not America. America is you put your 40 hours in, you get a little overtime, that's extra money, right? You work 10 hours over, that's extra money, because we all know if you work 1 or 2 hours over, you're not making no extra money. It all goes to taxes. You get 10 hours or more overtime a week, that's extra money, right? But it's not like that no more. And the people up here in these corporate places that setting these prices, they're counting their money. Meanwhile, we're out here pinching pennies trying to get by, hoping we can get our bills paid, hoping we can buy groceries, hoping that we can keep the kids clothed. You understand what I'm saying here? That's where we're at in America right now, and it needs to stop. How does it fix itself? It doesn't. It doesn't fix itself. Quit looking at things and thinking it's going to get better, it's going to get better. You got to quit looking like that. You got to look around and realize that this is falling apart. And just hoping it gets better is not going to fix it. Well, how do you fix it, right? I don't know. All I can say is everything needs to crash and start back over. Honestly, that's the only way we can fix this. We need to start back off with a zero deficit and go from there. But I guarantee you in another 100 years, they'll be right back in the position we're in now, because people do not learn. They don't learn. They don't follow the history. They don't realize what's going on. And as long as people are still able, to get a hamburger, everything's normal. Guys, this upset me today seeing that. $536 a week for daycare. Come on. Come on now. We already know how hard it is. People are out here struggling to get by. Like I said, if mom's having to work and she's a single parent, how can she afford daycare? How can she afford daycare? If dad's having to work, he's a single dad, how can he afford daycare? Right? This is the issue. This is the problem. You should not have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs to get by. If you want to work a second job, that should be for extra money to buy stuff you want to spend on, right? You understand what I'm saying? Second job's for vacation. Second job's for I want a four-wheeler. Second job is for, I want a motorcycle. I want a boat. You understand what I'm saying? That second job shouldn't have to be there just so you can pay your dang bills each month. That's not the way this should work here in America, and that's the way it's going, and it's going to keep going until it fully collapses and crashes. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Keep your head on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Protect yourself and your family at all times. At that moment, you're the only person who can do it. Guys, we're getting priced out. We are simply getting priced out of everything here in America. Let me know your thoughts on this. Comment on this video. Stay safe. Keep prepping. And if you've got a kid in daycare, I feel, God, are you paying that much money a week for daycare? And how many jobs are you having to work to cover the daycare? Stay safe, keep prepping.